folks. Welcome to the Mike Lopez TV Show. I'm your host, ACMike. We'll bring you all things Atlantic City and our local region. Politics, sports, dining, entertainment, and so much more. On tonight's show, we will be joined by our guest, Assemblyman Don Guardian of New Jersey's 2nd Legislative District. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. We are here with Assemblyman Don Guardian of New Jersey's 2nd Legislative District. Don, welcome to the show, my friend.
AC Mike, great to be back.
Good to have you back here. Let's get into this right away.
Cool.
Listen, let's talk to our viewers. One of the things that I wanted to get into before we get into our first subject, which will be Atlantic City development, is a little bit about you. I know you've been on the show, whether it be here at Stockton University or as well as the radio show. Tell folks at home a little bit about yourself, please.
So right now I'm an assemblyman for the state of New Jersey, representing most of Atlantic County. I've been doing this is my 4th year. I'm up for re-election in November. Love representing the constituents in South Jersey, along with our friends in Cape May and Ocean. We have a lot in common with issues along the shore, and certainly all the way back to the farming areas of our county. Before that, I was a business administrator in Toms River, New Jersey, and before that I was mayor of Atlantic City. And then, as you know, because we worked together for 18 years, 20 years, I was with the Special Improvement District, and before that I was an executive with the Claridge Casino, and before that I was a Boy Scout executive director. So lots of changes. I call them, a book, and those are the different chapters.
Love it. Listen, Don, one of the best jobs that I've ever had was working with you and the Special Improvement Division, as well as the Ambassador Program as a supervisor. Gave me an opportunity to see the city in a way that I haven't seen it, when it came to clean, safe, that sort of thing as well. One of the things when I remember I first met you was during the LEAD Act. And I shared this with you years ago. And you came in and you addressed the guys and gals, myself included, about 20 of us, in the LEAD Act, Lead Atlantic City Till Tomorrow. It was a leadership program, 10 months, with Stockton University, by the way, and the CRDA. And one of the things you said was, hey, if you're ever in the area, Pennsylvania Avenue, stop by, whatever. About 4 or 5 months, I was in the area, riding bike, stopped by, got to talk to you a little bit. You came out and you took me through a tour. And you said, you know what, Mike? You would be a good person for this ambassador program as a supervisor and whatnot. I says, Don, I see what they do out there, and I think it's great. But the one thing I'll never do, I swore when I retired from the Atlantic County Department of Public Safety, fancy for the jail, was never put a uniform on again, especially that uniform. Sure enough, you know what I wound up doing 2 months later? Putting that uniform on. So thank you.
Yeah.
I had to go through that whole story.
Thank you. It was great. We were upgrading the ambassador program at the time because initially we were more information, before internet and everything else. And then now we were trying to move it up to much more professional services. People were required to have a background in at least 2 years in law enforcement or in the military. And we were looking for some real supervisors that had experience. So you were the right person for the right job at the time.
Loved it. And listen, folks at home, I want to tell you the uniforms, if you haven't been on the Atlantic, bright yellow, you can't be missed. But with this head and this gap tooth, I don't think I could be missed anyway. But it was one of those great things, and more to that story down the road, seeing you work the way you worked on that boardwalk, underneath the boardwalk, as well as throughout the district. Getting back to Atlantic City, Don, as a mayor, as a resident, right, someone who's been there, spent their time, their money, their hard-earned, on the boardwalk, riding bike, there seems to be a resurgence of, and I'll start with the inlet, of development going on, and we can go throughout Midtown and whatnot. Talk to us a little bit about that as well. These folks coming into town, and that one being second homes, or as well as new homeowners, maybe 40s or 50s and what years. What are your thoughts on that? You've been there for many, many years.
Yeah, so, when we first had gaming, so, 45 years ago, a percentage, 1.5% to be exact, of the gross gaming revenue went into what was called alternate tax, an IAT. And then that money was specifically used to help develop Atlantic City, building new homes, building new high-rises, building new businesses, expanding businesses. And that all dried up when the city had too much of a debt. Back just before I was mayor, we had a $600 million debt, and to help us get out of that debt, for the last 10 years, the IATs, the casino money, has been used to pay off that debt, $40 or $50 million a year. Now, it's great that the debt is being paid off. The bad side of that, there was no money to help redevelop the city. If you go to any other urban area in New Jersey, there's funding there. Atlantic City didn't really get their share because we had the CRDA. So it took years before the state says, you know what, we have some programs in Atlantic City, really meet some of the needs that the DCA wants to do or the EDA wants to invest, and that's where we should putting it in. So I think now you've seen some of that money go through. So a lot of the projects that we see, the housing in the inlet is great. And, I really want to credit to the first guy who built 8 $700,000 condos and sold them, within a couple of months. So that gave the initiation for the larger corporations to come back. And certainly, you see that happening right now. Hovnanian, who built the housing development that I'm in the inlet 30-something years ago.
I recall that, yeah. When I was working at the county, they came looking for folks that have that sort of jobs to move in.
Yeah, you wanted to get business class people back into the city paying the taxes and things. Hovnanian's back. The big project is about 125 units, but I think they've got approval for the first 35 or so. So seeing that on Pacific Avenue, it's kind of cool. If you think of where the lighthouse is, then go back up toward Brigantine to the inlet. That's where it's going to go. So your front is going to be facing what became a park. So from the inlet all the way back to the boardwalk now, it's one block wide. An entire passive park. So you'll be able to live on the park, and you'll be a block from the ocean. So that's good. We need to get new development in Atlantic City. We got to get residents to come back and buy a home and pay taxes. Right. So I think I think we'll see with the next governor, with our candidates, they'll be talking about that. But I think right now you need the state to come in and say, hey, we're going to give you help with eminent domaining enough property that we can build new housing, make sure that 20% of that's going to be affordable, and then not only give that land away to a developer who has a short-term to actually build, but then to have a 10-year phase-in for taxes so people have a reason to come here rather than somewhere else. Now, I know you're going to be moving back in and within the next month and things. So Atlantic City is a great place. The boardwalk, the beaches are outstanding. Great fishing off of the jetties, Back Bay, a lot of fun. And, you're only a few blocks away from all the action. That's right. In the center of the city.
And whether it's action or the shows and whatnot, one of the things you mentioned too was that builder, the 8 units. Give him a shout out, Keith Groth. Yeah. I mean, did a great job.
So this is a local kid, maybe 30 or 40. He's a kid to us. Right. But he took a chance. I mean, he didn't come out looking for money. He put his own money up and things like that, and made the development possible by agreeing to live there. So, when you go find a developer, and he already bought one of the units, going to make that his primary residence, that means this has got to be something good about that. And they're beautiful units, 4 and 5 bedrooms, again, right on the park there. And I think you'll see him continue that development himself, but I think you'll see some of the big projects. So Caspian Avenue is, people remember it either where the trolley used to end or as a department store, but it's been vacant for 40 years, 45 years, about 6 acres. So if you think about Caspian development that Hovnanian built, where I'm living now, that's 6 acres, about 190 units or so with a pool and a clubhouse. Very similar to that. I think they're going to go up 3 stories, but that's a project there. That's real good. Beautiful location, safe, warm, a place to raise a family, a place to retire.
Absolutely. Listen, we got to keep that quiet for people. Now, we want you to come, folks. Listen, going down beach a little bit, Atlantic Club, there's some news popping about that. And
So it's really great news. So, unfortunately, people like to just bulldoze and build new, and that's good when you have to. But it's also
Made
nice.
a song about that. Tore down a house, to build a parking lot. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You don't need to
I
sing.
used to say it was the opposite when I was with the Sid. We tore up the parking lot and built a park. Where, Janis Joplin had said the opposite. But anyway, Atlanta Club. So great building. Steve Wynn built it. Steve Hyde was his CEO at the time. They built it. It's well built. Couldn't make it as a casino for a number of different reasons, but has good bones, meaning structurally sound. So you got a developer now. He's already working with Hilton under one of their upscale brands. Is going to take one of the towers, and then the other tower, you're going to have between 2,000 square feet and 4,000 square feet condos. So that's just a couple per floor, but that's going to bring in 150 units, I think, something like that. It's going to be taxes for the city. It's going to be bringing in people that are going to be dining, walking the boardwalk, bicycling. It's everything that we need. So whether they come here as a second home or they come here and realize it's kind of a cool place to live as your primary home, work out of the house or somewhere else and stuff like that. So that's a great development going down there. Evidently, there were some issues with being able to build it in a timely manner. The state stepped in, and they're going to provide whatever they need to make sure the building moves on. And I think Rocco, the owner, is going to be moving on. He's promised it. He's putting his money where his mouth is and stuff like that. So we're very excited about that. And that's right next to Stockton's campus.
Well, that's what I was just going to touch, right next to my home as well for 15 years at the Ocean Club, and love the news and that sort of to be part. We got about a minute or two on this segment. Aspire program expansion. Can you get into that a little bit?
Yeah. So the Aspire program passed both the Assembly and the Senate. I was one of the co-sponsors. The governor just signed it recently and stuff. Aspire is pretty simple. The idea is they took certain cities, Atlantic City being one of them. That's why I'm so big on the program. And they said, listen, we're going to give you a 10-year plan for taxes. So you're not phased into full taxes until you reach year 10. So it's giving you an incentive to come here. Wasn't enough of an incentive, so this program, the Aspire program, now says we're going to give you that 10-year in the first 5 years. So it gives you an incentive to come, spend the money. We know it's more expensive to build. Everything else is up and things, but we still want you here. We still want you building. And so the Aspire program for Atlantic City, Jersey City, Newark, maybe Patterson are the only cities that are going to qualify. I think it's part of the redevelopment. Good plan. It's available now, and it's for both residential and for commercial. So, if you're looking at building a business here and stuff like that, the program would qualify, along with some of the programs from both the EDA and the DCA. And you can see that with the Orange Loop. There's some really cool things coming up there. Redevelopment of the old Knights of Columbus Hotel there, and then the whole idea of using cargoes, containers.
Love it.
For development, lots of parking. It's just going to add to that kind of cool feel that Tennessee Avenue has developed.
That back and forth where folks are going to different venues, drinking, eating, and having a good time. Our friend Mark Colazzo. Listen, folks, we're going to be right back with Assemblyman Don Guardian, so stay right where you're at. So much more to talk about. We'll be right back.